I've got like hot dog juice on my hands. Hey everyone, it's Anna and I'm back with another vintage cookbook. Today, it's Ideas with Meat. This is another book where I couldn't find an exact publication date. Just judging by the illustrations, what the book looks like, all of that, it looks like it was published in the 1950s. This book was released by American Meat Institute. So getting into this book, it starts with a lovely affirmation. You can do it. This is what I need. I need you to tell me I can do this. I can cook the meats. I can take care of my family. I can do this. This introduction is incredibly long, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to give you a few highlights. It has a really good start. It's very encouraging. So in addition to the "You can do it" headline, we have, would you like to be known as an all-around expert at meat cookery? Have your family be generous with their praise? Guests ask for your recipes? In all likelihood, you are much closer to being really proficient at this most important branch of the culinary art than you ever thought you were. How nice is that? The American Meat Institute is really supportive at this point. These are the affirmations that we need today, right? Skimming through, you kind of get down to a few paragraphs and then they hit you with this little gem. Take, for example, some of the finest dishes of fine restaurants. One's men talk about for days after they've eaten them. Sure, they talk about boeuf à la mode, which is apparently just pot roast at heart according to them, and beef stroganoff, a simple stew to which an idea has been added. Ideas are my favorite ingredients. We're talking about dishes that men have eaten in restaurants specifically. I don't know why women are left out of this once again, but women dined out in restaurants too in the 1950s, so why do we have to have this kind of language? I really love this last paragraph in the introduction. Try them on your hearty eaters or the fussiest of fussy nibblers. Then get ready to start collecting the compliments. The fussiest of fussy nibblers. So there's a whole bunch of sections at the beginning. We've got things like the best cuts for certain recipes or for money saving purposes. So in this section, they talk about vitamins, minerals, all of that good stuff. And then there's a section here called Ideas When You Go to the Store. So knowing your way around the butcher counter, knowing how to cook these different cuts of meat so that you can prepare meats that maybe are a little less expensive in a more delicious way. Again, very helpful. That's when we have the various cuts of meat, you know, good picks for pot roast, cuts for oven roasting, ham, that kind of thing. So I like the illustrations in this. I think that they are beneficial so that you know kind of what you're looking for when you go to the store. They do have a little section on organ meats. They're just drawings. I'm going to show them, but if you don't like the way drawings of organ meats look, you should probably just skip ahead a few seconds. Creative ways to cook tongue, kidneys, all of that stuff. Sorry, but I'm not cooking one of these recipes today. This is not for me. I'm not saying you shouldn't eat these things. I'm just saying that I personally do not eat these things. I find that a lot of meat cookbooks, especially around like the 1940s, 1950s, they do push a lot of offal/organ meats. They were cheap, you know, maybe meat wasn't as plentiful, especially during the war. And I think that's sort of just a carryover here. There's a section that talks about how much you should buy, how to store it. And then we get into the meat cooking methods, which is probably the most helpful section in this entire book. It has a whole timetable for roasting, like that. How to broil meat. So yeah, this is all good stuff. This is all helpful information and just general cooking knowledge that is good to have. Then we get into the recipes. So each section is divided into cuts of meat. So it's like beef and then they'll kind of reduce it down to pot roasts. It starts with your basic pot roast recipe, but then on the neighboring page, we have all of these variations on pot roast. So that's kind of cool. You can change things up, not just have the same thing every time. Ideas with stew. I mean, who's not looking for a good stew idea? Here we go again. Ideas with meat dishes men like. First off, how do you know that these are meat dishes that men like? Secondly, why? Why is this here? Why? Why? According to this book, men like braised ox joints, corned beef and cabbage, and pork hocks and sauerkraut. Let me know if you're a man and these are your favorite meat dishes. A little bit later in the book, they do have a section on leftovers, which I love. I don't like to waste food. However, the very first idea with leftovers happens to be the one and only gelatin mold in this book. So we have a jellied ham mold. This recipe has cooked ham, gelatin, consomme, horseradish, prepared mustard, and then minced onion and a dash of pepper. So these are all, I guess, at the very least, savory ingredients. We're not mixing like fruit with celery again. This book does make a few very hefty claims on the back page, and I would like to share a few of those with you. Meat helps mothers have heavier babies. Meat keeps you living longer without fatigue. Meat is a key element in modern reducing diets. So I have some mixed feelings about those claims, of course, but that's what the American Meat Institute claimed in the 1950s. There's an entire section in this book on ideas with Frankfurters, and that's where my recipe today comes from. Today I'm going to be preparing Frankfurter Wedgies. I wouldn't say this recipe uses any strange ingredients, but it doesn't seem like what is in it really makes sense together to me, so I would like to think that it will, but I'm not sure. I'm just not sure how this is going to come out. This recipe has frankfurters, macaroni, milk, pimento, salt, pepper, Worcestershire sauce. At this point, I'm very concerned about the amount of Worcestershire sauce that people in like the 40s, 50s, and 60s were consuming. It just seems like every recipe has it. And then grated cheese and either chili sauce or ketchup. I guess it's not that these ingredients don't go together, but there's just like a very small amount of macaroni and you're not really making like a cheese sauce to go on top. So it's a casserole with hot dogs on top. Every recipe is an adventure. Let's get started. Let's make some Frankfurter Wedgies. Okay, so again, I am making a half recipe of this. Normally this recipe would serve 4 people. I'm cutting it in half to serve 2. Probably just me, actually. I've already cooked my macaroni, so you begin by combining macaroni. This was 2 ounces when it was dry. So I just cooked it according to package instructions. And then you add milk, half a cup of milk. I'm just using 2%. And then we have our pimentos. So this is a tablespoon and a half of pimentos. And I feel like this is one of those ingredients that I used to see in a lot of cookbooks from the 40s, 50s, 60s, maybe even 70s. You don't see it as an ingredient in quite as many recipes, at least I don't. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tablespoon and a half of diced pimentos right into the bowl. The way that these recipes are arranged, they are not like landscape top and bottom, they're vertical side by side like that. I keep looking at the other recipes. I'm mixing them up. I keep mixing up the rest of the recipes just because of the way that they're arranged on the page. So hopefully I get this right today. After your pimentos, you're gonna do your salt and pepper. So this is half a teaspoon of salt and just a little pinch of black pepper. And then it's our favorite ingredient, Worcestershire sauce. I am getting better at saying it. It seems that I need to because it seems to be in every single recipe. Half a teaspoon of that. Oh, I should shake that first. Oh no. Okay. I guess I didn't have it capped very well. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. By some miracle, I did not get any of that on my shirt. So I'm gonna measure out my half teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce and add that to the bowl. Why was this such a popular ingredient? I still see it today, of course, but it just seems like it's in every single recipe that I choose or that I see in these books. 1/4 of a cup of cheese. So I just have mild cheddar cheese. It just literally says cheese, so it could mean anything. So I'm just going with something pretty general. So you just mix this all together. It's rather soupy. This is a lot soupier than I even thought it would be because I mean, I just thought, oh, it doesn't have a lot of ingredients in it, but this is like, oh, wow. I was planning on eating this for lunch and I'm thinking I may need to make other plans now because I don't know if this is gonna work. Let me see if I can just show you how much liquid is in this dish. Let's see, I don't wanna tip it too much because it's gonna spill. But look at that, like that is so much milk. Did I do that wrong? No, the whole, like if you make a whole recipe, it has a whole cup of milk and I used half. Okay, well, I don't know. We're gonna keep going. My lovely little casserole dish is making an appearance today. You're supposed to mix all of this together and then dump it into a greased casserole dish. So I went ahead and just prepared that already and we'll put this inside. I don't love how it looks. I mean, you do bake it after all of this, so it might be okay. There's nothing really to thicken it either. I did cook the macaroni to like slightly al dente, but I don't know that it's gonna absorb all of this milk. Gotta keep trying though. We got 2 Frankfurters. It would be 3 normally if I cut this recipe in half, but I don't really want to cook 3 entire Franks. We're gonna do 2. You split them lengthwise, almost completely in half. And do that. Wow, they are rolling. I'm supposed to stuff them with ketchup. Yeah, I didn't do a good job. I'm like super afraid that I'm gonna just split it completely and I don't wanna ruin the effect. No, I'm not doing a good job. I gotta get aggressive. Come on, how am I supposed to do this? Like, do I need to pipe ketchup in there? That's better. Okay, I made like a little Frankfurter pocket. This section is titled Ideas with Frankfurters and I was just kind of unaware that you needed ideas. I thought you just boiled them or threw them on the grill or microwaved them or something, you know? Apparently not. So I've got my little hot dog pockets. So I cut them almost in half lengthwise, and now you're supposed to cut them crosswise. So that means this way. So we're gonna have like 4 smaller hot dogs, like so. I don't want them to roll away, but you see that we've got 4 hot dog sections. So you arrange them on top of this. I wish there was an illustration of this. It's not that it's like hard to put together or anything. I would love to see what they did with it. Yeah, I think I'm glad I only did 2 hot dogs because it fits perfectly. Next, I'm supposed to fill these with ketchup. I feel like this is gonna be a really big mess. They didn't even really have the squeeze bottle back at this time, did they? It was probably the glass bottle. So I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use a spoon. I think it's just gonna be like neater. So I'm just gonna squeeze a little in here. I don't wanna waste this. I was made aware that there is currently a ketchup shortage. I think it's the ketchup packets though that you would get at a restaurant. Let's fill these. My hands are gonna be such a mess after this. I wonder why you don't put this on after. Maybe it's like baked in ketchupy goodness. It also doesn't say how much ketchup, so I'm just gonna figure it out myself. This looks interesting. Here's what it looks like. Milky macaroni with hot dogs on top. I'm keeping an open mind. I have to bake this for 25 minutes at 350. I'll go ahead and do that, and then it's time to give it a taste. These are our Frankfurter Wedgies. I did let this bake for an extra 5 minutes or so because the liquid wasn't quite absorbed when the 25 minutes was up. So I let it bake for a few extra minutes. I let it sit for about 5 minutes. It does seem like the liquid is absorbed now. I have a lot of questions about this recipe. I don't really understand it, but maybe if I give it a taste, then I'll know. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get 1 little wedgie and a little bit of this macaroni. Well, now I'm seeing that the liquid maybe wasn't quite absorbed. There's just like a little bit in there. It just seems like this doesn't really equal mac and cheese in any way, even though there's macaroni and cheese and milk. Maybe some butter would have been a good addition, but here we go. I'm gonna start with the macaroni. Get a few pieces and make sure I get some pimento on the fork. It's not bad. It's not like great, but it's not bad either. It doesn't taste bad. It just tastes like its components. Macaroni, melted cheese, spices. It doesn't really like come together in any significant way as like a complete dish. I'm gonna try the Frankfurter Wedgie next. These smelled really good baking. Hot dogs smell good when they are cooking. It's a hot dog. It tastes pretty good. It's like an all beef hot dog. I'm gonna try them together and see if that gives me some sort of revelation about this dish. So we got macaroni, we got hot dog. It's fine. Like I'm not going to eat it. I'll eat this for lunch. It'll be okay. I don't know that it's something that is gonna be in my go-to recipes. Again, I just don't quite understand it, but it's okay. I cooked a recipe from Ideas with Meat. Thank you again for watching. I really appreciate the support on these. Does your family have this book? Do you have this book? Have you cooked any recipes from this book? I'd love to know. Please let me know in the comments down below. If you'd like to subscribe, go ahead and do that. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.